this is my little secret that I like to tell people. So everybody hires me for the science because nobody else will do that or can do that.
Got it.
But my little goal is like what your goal ultimately is, not just for somebody to have a successful business, but to make them the most healthy, well, happy people.
Hey guys, welcome to episode number 192 of the Game On Girlfriend podcast. This episode is very special for me. I know that's a funny thing for a podcast host to say, but about 8 years ago, I was speaking at a very local conference that I decided to hold. It was called Redefining Success. And as I was giving my grocery store story to introduce myself to the audience, I looked down and there was a woman crying in the front row. And I remember thinking, I'm going to hear from her tomorrow. And sure enough, I did. And that extraordinary woman was Tasha Blasi, who is today's guest. Now, Tasha today has moved from the East Coast, where she lived near me, to California. She has retired her husband, who also now lives in California with her, and their two beautiful children. He has started his own business. Her life is completely different. And her life is different because that day she called me. She is one of the most open, honest, funny people I've ever met. Today's episode is really going to be you sort of listening in on the two of us talking. We talk a lot about her business and how she evolved it, but just so that you understand, she is now an IVF and fertility consultant. She has a course that women can take when they're looking to become pregnant through IVF. It's called Fertilitites Unite, FU for short. Yes, that was intentional because that's how you feel when you're trying to get pregnant, right? She's so funny, but she now really helps people and understands, and she's starting to take her understanding of IVF and fertility and the science behind it to Congress, to doctors, and she's really becoming this overall advocate. I cannot wait to see what she does next. It's going to be so exciting. So if you're a woman who's looking to get pregnant, you haven't been able to, or if you know someone who has, definitely throw them Tasha's way. She's incredibly special. They can listen to this episode, get a real feel for her, and also understand how she created this and why she's the perfect woman to be running this business. Now, as a Game On girlfriend, I hope you listen to this episode or watch this episode. What we did as Tasha created this business was look at her own personal expertise, which was science. We looked at her own experience, which was her 10 rounds of IVF. You heard that correctly. That is 10. And then we took her talent, which is her humor, her ability to be on video effortlessly, and her entire experience as a teacher. She was actually a biology teacher. So we put that together in a way that serves the world at an extraordinary level. There are now 300 new children, babies, born around the world. She works with people in over 15 different countries because of Tasha's work. It's really, I think, special. I think it's incredible. And I want you to understand that what she has done with her own life experience and her own talents and the secret sauce is something I want to help more women do. You're going to hear more about how fulfilling it is, how extraordinary it is, and what the bumps and challenges are too. We're both very, very honest in this episode. Grab a cup of coffee because you're about to hang out with two girlfriends, pop in those earphones, and let's get to it. Tasha, I'm so excited. Welcome to the Game On Girlfriend podcast. This is like one for the ages. Yeah.
I'm dying. I'm your biggest fan.
You know, it's funny because I think you're a little bit famous in this world. Like if anyone's listening or watching and you've taken like one of my business webinars, right? Or like business accelerator ideas, I always talk about Tasha, and holy cannoli, here she is on the podcast.
I just got chills. Oh my gosh. I love that.
You really are though, because your story is just unbelievable, which I will now turn over to you to share with everybody. I mean, let's start talking about what it is you do, because your business is amazing, what it is you do and why this is what you do.
Yeah. So I am a fertility and IVF consultant. I am quite specialized in that. And why I do what I do, I love to say every time I say, they're like, it wasn't my idea. And honestly, the person who told me to do this thought she was crazy. And that would be Sarah Walton.
Disclaimer, Sarah Walton, asterisk, she's crazy. Right.
Like,
awesome.
You're sweet. That's so weird.
That is not a thing.
So I would love to get into that more, but it was a calling and it was an accumulation of my life. So biology, chemistry major, taught biology, chemistry. So that teaching part of it, that science part of it. Then I moved to the East Coast and went into advertising, creating campaigns and pitching them. And that was 11 years of my life. And then I went through a 5-year fertility journey, 8 egg retrievals, 10 transfers. transfers later. And then I work with Sarah Walton. She gives me this idea and I realize just my purpose in life.
So I now have chills, and I don't remember a time inside of a podcast episode. What are we, like 3 minutes in? I am like all teary and weepy. Okay. All right. Before we dive into how the heck this happened, because that is such a fun story to tell. Can you break down a little bit more, right? You have your biology, you have your PR, like you understand all of the things, not to mention personal experience, 8 egg retrievals, 10 transfers. Not only is
nine egg retrievals. Don't.
Okay. Don't discount one, sister, right? Like that's a big deal, right? So we have all that, like that's a boatload of money. That is a boatload of physical pain and like marathon running sort of, right? Then there's the emotional aspect of that. So there's all of that, right? That you bring into the business for whom? Like you say an IVF consultant, but like if someone's listening or they're like, what? And they have like, for most people, it's like, oh my gosh, my sister-in-law needs to call Tasha. Like, how do they know when it's time to call you on this journey of like, we're not getting pregnant, what do we do?
Right. So for me, the sooner the better, but I will tell you, people do not call me right away. Right.
Okay.
Because they were like me. I was cocky. It was 20 grand and I did have a lot of insurance, thank goodness, covering it, but it was expensive. It was science and the embryo goes in. How does that not work? Right. And it's science. So I was very cocky going in. And in fact, I was in my mid-30s. We did it for a male factor. Everything was perfect until it kept on not working. And like, oh, you need egg donor. I'm like, really? So I personally would not have, here's the thing. I wouldn't have called me right away, but then by my 8th, 9th or 10th round, I don't know if I would have called me because I would have been like, why would some chick on the internet be able to help me when the most famous doctors in the country, the most famous clinics, the most famous doctors in New York, all over the country could not help me. So I don't know if I would have hired me. But now I hire somebody for literally everything in my life. So when people should call me, the sooner the better. I definitely get those that are like, I'm doing IVF for the first time in my life and I'm already overwhelmed. Just tell me what to do.
Got it.
Those are like, it's like I'm a kid in a candy shop. I'm like, really? Like we have nothing to like undo. You don't have that mental, I call it fertility fatigue, where I'm going to have to undo a lot and then build you up. And they also have no history of medication. So a big part of what I do that I have not found anybody else to do because I'm crazy is I study data all day. And I work in 15 countries. I get to see hundreds of case studies of IVF and other things that get people pregnant because I'm turning IVF patients into getting to conceive naturally patients. When there's not something like me, where it's a male factor where it's like, it's never going to happen medically, So it's like, I'm studying data all day. And so I have this privilege of literally seeing hundreds of case studies that even doctors don't have this access. They don't get access to hundreds of case studies every year in 15 plus countries.
Wow.
They have access to their data. My clients I get everything from them, right? And I analyze this. So I feel like what I do is very different than, let's say, I remember telling you, there's no such thing as a fertility coach. Well, there is. Apparently there's other people, but I don't know that many, but I know they exist because they reach out to me and I know you've probably told me to look at my competitors, but I haven't. But the one thing that I do that I think nobody else does, yes, I do the nutrition. Yes, I do the mindset coaching. Yes, I do the, oh my gosh, let me pick you up, give you a hug and keep you moving forward. The Jedi mind trick of like, we know this will happen and this is how. I do that science part of it, which tells them right away, this is exactly what you need to talk to your doctor about. And there's never one way to do it, but there's definitely wrong ways to do it, which I love and hate to uncover because it's like, why do I know this? And the doctors don't. That's, and when you're looking for a new doctor or when you're asking for strategies of why isn't this working? I'm able to teach them, do you look at your chart? I'm going to show you, and I can show them the data points on their personal chart. Do you see how your follicles are growing here nice and even? Oop, right here, they split. This is why they split. This is what you need to do next to talk to your doctor next time, right? Make those changes. So that is the science. I think most people hire me. I would say 90+% hire me for the science part of it. Just like, what do I need to know? And it's either I know I'm missing something or, you think you could help? Sure. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Like, it's almost like at this point, I'll do anything.
Right. So bring it, sister. Whatever you say, I'll try. I'm like half dead on the floor, whatever.
Totally.
Kind of that feeling.
Yeah. Well, those people tend not to hire me because they're too far gone. But but I've gotten a couple of those. And like I said, I'd love to bring them up and along. But yeah, it's usually the in-betweeners of we've been in a couple years, but we have a range of everyone. And this is my little secret that I like to tell people. So everybody hires me for the science because nobody else will do that or can do that.
Got it.
But my little goal is like what your goal ultimately is, not just for somebody to have a successful business, but to make them the most healthy, well, happy people. I mean, it's biological, because the reason why we can't get pregnant easily or can't make eggs easily or have endo or endometriosis or PCOS or heavy periods, painful periods is biology. So let me help you with that. And then guess what? You can really improve your chances for getting and staying pregnant.
That is amazing. I mean, I've heard that before. Like people are like, oh, they give up, but they start looking at adoption, they get pregnant. It's because all the stress is gone, right? Like that's the story. But so you're actually intentionally focused, given all of that biological background you have, right? You're intentionally focusing on the wellness of the whole human, which makes my socks roll up and down, right? So all that's happening while you're looking at, okay, here are the doctors, here are the clinics, here are the treatments, here's what's going on with your specific body, here's what's happening, do these things. They may end up getting healthier overall, which then relaxes things. Things can happen that way. How many babies are now on planet Earth because of your business, Tasha?
That I know about.
Yeah.
There are probably 300. Well, I have a lot of that. Not everybody tells me, if they do, please do, because, you get prizes.
Besides the baby, you get prizes, people.
Family of your dreams and other prizes. But no, there's a lot of times where people, I don't know about it, or I'll hear about it later. So I'm guessing, I would say 300.
300. Yeah. How many of those do you ended up happening naturally as someone relaxed a little bit and was healthy?
I have not looked at that data. I would say right now somebody's working for me that that was the case. Getting prepped for IVF and then and I remember our sales call because she was like, I'm doing everything. I'm literally doing everything. And I go, all right, well, if what you're doing is working, you definitely don't need me. And then she hired me. So I would say, gosh, maybe 30%.
Holy flip. Okay. So that's substantial. That's not like 2%. Like that's substantial.
Yeah, no. And it's always like, what are you kidding?
No, you don't understand. We had sex everywhere. It's never happened before. So good. So good. Okay. So let's talk a little bit because I want people to understand when they should reach out. So you're not getting pregnant. You might have tried IVF a couple of times. Even better, if you've never even tried, you can help set the stage to like really set them up for success mentally, emotionally, physically, understanding the biology, all of that jazz.
Yeah.
Okay. So can we go back to
and just one thing I want to back up, because I think this has a lot to do with your followers, which is when I was talking about how we balance hormones to make them more pregnant naturally, to make them more fertile naturally.
Yeah.
It's the whole idea of we are overdoing. We are running on empty.
Yeah.
There is one thing you need to get pregnant, which is energy. So energy in, nutrients in, toxins out. I am talking physical and mental. I am talking using your 5 senses. What gives you energy? What gives you love, nutrients, good abundance? Do that. When you are doing things that ingest toxins, visual, auditory, everything. and I know some of those are people,
Yes.
this awareness piece of we are giving and doing so much energy out, so many toxins in.
Yeah.
And that's what I call survival mode. So my 3 pillars of what everybody's like, what do I need to do to get and stay pregnant? I say the science, right? Why they hire me. Survival mode shift. Our bodies are in survival mode. There is never going to be a situation where your body's in survival mode that's going to be like, I have an idea. Why don't I grow a parasite? Like, no, I know it's a cute parasite. Your brain doesn't give a F how cute that parasite is. It is like, I am here for you today, not tomorrow. I don't even care. I don't care how long you live. And in fact, I'm not going to set you up for the next 50 years. I'm setting you up for today, just today. Because as long as we're alive today, we're alive today, right? And that's how your brain functions and will do what it takes to keep you alive today. So you're running on empty, depletion, toxins, you can still survive. Your brain will allow that. Your brain will allow your body to make up for that. But you tell your brain then, and you want to grow a baby, they'll be like, you're hilarious, So, and that was, I think, yeah, I think that was the biggest reason why I didn't easily get and stay pregnant when it was a male factor. Yes, it was the science. I see so clearly what my protocol and bid and stuff, but once I had the embryos, why didn't they implant 8 out of 10 times when everything was quote unquote perfect? Survival mode.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that does make sense though. I mean, if we just take a hot second and lean back, that makes complete sense from, a scientific point of view. Like, why would your body grow a human when it's concerned you're not going to survive?
Right. When it's in a state of depletion. And that's how most of us live.
Yeah.
And it feels normal.
Well, we normalized it, right?
We normalize. You're right. It doesn't feel normal because you will always get signs that your body and mind are in survival mode. Anxiety, fears. I call it taming the a-hole living in your head, right? There's that harassing. Yeah. And with the body, any physical ailment, you're not supposed to have PMS and cramps and heavy periods and have to take Advil or have those I mentioned, PCOS. You're supposed to easily get pregnant. You're not supposed to have acne and psoriasis and eczema and all these things that we just normalize, migraines. You're not supposed to. So that's your body screaming, okay, we're really in a state of depletion, and it's working for you. Your body is working for you, not against you, with what it has.
I love that. And can I say something? Because I'm always looking at what you're actually saying as a human, and then I'm watching your passion.
Yeah.
What you're saying too.
My eyes.
Tasha, what is it like for you as a person to run this business? What is it like for you to be like, oh, by the way, this is my job. This is what I do. Not only do I put more humans on the planet, you're welcome, but I help people figure out what's going on for themselves. This is your job. What is that like for you?
Yeah. Well, my actual teaching and content and podcasts, love. The running of the business, I don't love.
But every single person listening just went, me too. Yeah.
But we are, you're so organized. I mean, you're like a freaking unicorn. You're a unicorn. And that's why you can help and organize coaches. I am a producer.
Yep.
Right? I create and produce. I am not a manager. So, and there's a big difference, right? And so I hire managers because I just want to teach and produce content to teach. So I'm a teacher at heart. First of all, everybody who hears what I do, they're like, oh my God, that's so cool. Your job must be so fulfilling. And yes, and there's also this part of it where there's the fertility industry, and we haven't quite met yet.
Oh my gosh, this is going to be good.
Yeah. Some people in the industry we met, and I have beautiful relationships with some of the most brilliant fertility doctors. In fact, I make it a point for the most brilliant fertility doctors to know me and vice versa. So that's, a big part of how I collect my data and research is these connections, as well as my clients all around the world. And I get to share with them, it's rare, but I have emailed the doctor and been like, hey, I know you're going to do this next time for her. I think this will work better.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Wow. And how is that received?
Well, she received it beautifully. I was literally like typing it because
Were you like sweating?
I was like, oh my God, I love her. And I'm going to tell her like, but she was receptive, but we have a beautiful relationship, but I've never done that with her. And so I was a little bit nervous, but when I tell you, but the woman went from like having 25 eggs to only having, I want to say it was like 8 fertilized to having 2 embryos. I was like, 25 eggs, 2 embryos? Like, are you kidding me? To 22 eggs, to 18 of those fertilized.
Whoa.
10 embryos.
Wow. What a difference.
To 10.
Holy moly.
And yeah, that part of my business I love. And like I said, the fertility industry has not met me. I think once some of my bigger projects come out, I don't know how that will be perceived.
Yeah. I mean, I hope you're girding up your loins, as us Mormons, old ex-Mormons used to say. And I love that phrase. Gird up your loins. I don't know. It makes me laugh. But like, I would imagine that's something you're going to need to get prepared for. Yeah. I mean, you are going to take not just your business, but the transformation of the industry to a bigger level, because that's what's happening, right? I mean, if you're getting people pregnant, one, naturally or faster, the industry is going to notice that, right?
Yeah.
Like, they're just are. They're going to be like, wait, but we get paid so much money every time we do a round. Not that they don't want to help. I'm sure they do, right? But it's also like, wait a second.
And nobody dies. And there's
something's happening here, right? Like that's going on. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens. And I hope you come back and tell us, because I'm definitely going to do a follow-up on that, because I think this is a really exciting place for any business owner to be, right? And we don't have to necessarily break industries, but I tell people all the time, break your industry. Like that's how we make amazing things happen, is you go in and you don't do it like everybody else. You have the cojones to email people at the top of their field and say, I want to try this instead, right? Like that's when you're breaking the industry. And I think this is just extraordinary, Tasha. This is going to be so exciting.
Thanks. Yeah. And right now, why I say the industry really hasn't met me. Most of my clients do not tell their doctors that they are working with somebody. It's just all of a sudden the doctor, like I had a client be like, my doctor thinks I'm like brilliant. I'm like, well, you are brilliant. So right now I tell my clients, it's like a chart. This is what you're going to ask the doctor. Next column. This is why we're asking, or any additional information they need to know. And then the next column is, what did your doctor say? So most people don't even say they're working with anyone.
Got it.
Right? It's all behind the scenes. Now, when certain projects come out, I think this is what I read, right? This is what I got. This is the information that I read.
Yeah.
Well, where'd you get that from? Oh, some chick from the internet. Her name is Tasha.
Some chick from the internet. I love that you call yourself that. I know there's a business coach out there who does it. I'm not just some chick on the internet. I love it so much. I love it. No. I love it. It's good though, but I can get that feeling for you.
Yeah. You're not who are you?
Yeah.
You're not a doctor. Nope. Just some chick on the internet.
Oh my gosh. I remember working with you. And do you remember the business idea you came into my office with? Do you remember?
No.
Fall off your chair. You walked in and you said, I think I want to organize closets for the really wealthy women. And I was like, I'm sorry. I was like, you want to do what now?
Love organizing a closet.
I know you do. I know. Yeah.
That is
hot. Like, what? And then we were exploring. I was like, hey, let's just put that over there for a hot second, because I don't think you're going to.
Why would I say for really wealthy women? So I'd actually make money.
Yeah, I think that's where you were. You were like, but they have money. They'll pay me dollars, right? This happens a lot in businesses. People are like, let me just do that because I can make money. It's like, let's put that over there for a hot second. But I think I will never forget. I know I will never forget when you said to me, I asked you, what do people call you for? Do you remember that? And I was like, what do people call you? You're like, people call me all over the United States to talk about my IVF journey. I was like, you're what? I had no idea. And I remember you saying, I had 10 transfers to get my 2 children. Yeah. And I almost fell off my chair. I was like, what? And I think, when you're calling yourself some chick on the internet who happened to, by the way, be a biology teacher, that was when we were cooked, by the way. I was like, and this is a wrap. I know what she can do. Right. Yeah. But it's like the biology background. Like, so you have this significant biology background. It's not like you read a couple books, right? Like you have this background, you taught it. Like you get the questions, you get where people get confused, you know how to explain it so people can understand. You had all that on there. But I do think the secret sauce is the 10, right? 10 flip. I mean, those of us who like wanted to get pregnant, like the 2 weeks between the time you're supposedly be able to get pregnant, and you can pee on that damn stick, are the longest 2 weeks of anyone's life.
Yeah.
I can't imagine going through that, just those 2 weeks, right? Going through that 10 times after dealing with what you dealt with already, just to be able to pee on the stick, right? So I'm going 10 times. But I think the other thing that's amazing about you, Tasha, and I think is probably what's had your clients love you so much, right? You get the primary infertility piece, right? Like you couldn't get pregnant. And then you got pregnant on your second try, right? Of IVF.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had secondary infertility, which
Mm-hmm.
I think is a dark side of the moon that so many women don't talk about, because you're supposed to be grateful for the fact that you have one kid,
Right.
but you're dying inside because you know there's one more and like they're not coming. And I think that because you have all of those different experiences, I love the girl on the internet joke, but I got to tell you, that depth of experience, I think just brings so much to the work that you must provide your clients, and that level, to have that level of empathy, because it's one thing to be a doctor who knows the science. It's another thing to be a human being who's gone through what they're going through.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that's got to be the reason that you've been so successful 300 babies later.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, yeah, nobody wants to be me.
Oh, stop. I don't know about that.
Well, I mean, I'm a very safe place because it's like, well, I didn't do 10 rounds, but you did. So you really got it, but yeah, I didn't really think about that, but yes.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, and I know you're like being funny and all of that, lady on the internet.
Yeah.
But I mean, you really do know what you're doing. And I think that depth of understanding is something a lot of business owners miss, especially coaches. Cause right, I said, you could be an infertility coach, like all that stuff. There's a lot of coaches who like watch someone do it and they just jump in and do it, versus someone who's walked the path and understands where every single crack and every single little pitfall and rock could end up showing up. And you know how to clear that path for people. And I don't know. I just think it's pretty freaking amazing.
Thanks, Sash. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll never forget when you came up with that idea for me. And obviously, I'm like talking about it, but still just talking about like what I help people with, it never occurred to me. And you're like, you need to be a fertility coach or infertility. I don't know what you said. And I was like, that's not a thing. And you go, well, you make it a thing. I go, I don't make money. I just do it for free. And you're like, yeah, no, that's what I'll help you with on how to charge people. And I was like, one's going to pay for that. Like, what? This is so weird. But as soon as you said it, it was like the Red Sea parted, because I went home and it was floods and floods and floods of ideas. And it felt so right. And it just felt so right. That's the only way to describe it. And when you get that feeling of, it's like, oh my gosh, yes. And then the work begins.
Yeah, I know. And then it gets hard, right? And you're like, oh, thanks for the flow. Like the floodgates have opened. What do I do now? Oh, right. I got to launch this thing. Yeah. And that whole process, I mean, you were amazing. And I think the reason I want to tell that part of the story, I think that's so good, because there's always somebody listening who's like, well, people call me for this, but it's not a thing. It's like, go make it a thing. You can make a business out of anything. I say that all the time, but you truly can, right? It's like, if you help people get a solution faster and with less pain, they will pay you.
Yes.
The end. It's like literally like true, right?
Yeah. And the key part being, I would have never thought of that on my own. Who knows? For those of you listening, as she's talking to me about what I like to do, it did not occur to me. So the whole idea of us being so afraid to seek help, or like me, with my, well, I wouldn't have hired me, because at that point, who could help me? I could have said that I was 40. This was 2016. I was 40. And I was like, that's cute. Oprah says everybody, finds their passion. They don't work a day in their life. That's cute for others. I'm good. I've had multiple careers now. I was in corporate. I made great money. Like, stop being so spoiled. You're doing better than most people. You're fine. I think that we limit ourselves to possibilities because we cannot consciously figure it out ourselves. And what a big miss is that? Because it was a simple conversation with a very trained ear where this is her genius. And she asked me, I want to say simple questions, but that, the series of conversations and coaching that we did was being created for a long time. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so a trained ear, a trained professional, and boop, one session, you found my dream job.
That was
And I
pretty
think
amazing.
that that's just a big miss with us, is that we either figure out, oh, I got this, just like me and my fertility journey. I got this. No, I got this because I can do everything. Actually, I do everything better myself. Actually, I don't want help because everybody else ruins things. No, I got it. And then I was a shell of myself. It was 5 years in my fertility journey. Like, I was a shell of myself trying for baby number 2. I just kept going and doing and going and doing, so that's a big part of opening up, which is, if you cannot figure it out, and I'm not saying the next person you hire, unless it's Sarah Walton, it might be the right one, but ask other experts, not just other people, right? Because I see my clients all the time. They're just looking on the internet, they're typing in, how do you improve egg quality? You're going to get just vague answers. My client asked me, how do I improve my egg quality? Well, I have a list of questions that I have been curating since 2016, where I know that those data points will allow me to give her a formula. And sometimes they're like, I can't believe nobody's caught this before. I can't believe nobody said this to me before. And I remind them, you are exactly where you are today because this is where you're supposed to be. Past was leading you up to today. We are exactly where we're supposed to be right now because this is where we are. So
I love that. And you are really good, Tasha. I will say, I'm not sure if it was the IVF journey that had you learn that, but asking for help, right? You are a master at having coaches around you for different things at different times. And I think even for your clients, you provide a boatload of coaches, right? Mm-hmm. You have like a mindset coach. Who else do you have on your team?
Yeah. And nutrition, mindset, alternative therapy, obviously fertility. We have success coaches. Yeah. It's basically anything that can get in the way of your health and wellness, therefore fertility. I have experts to analyze results, answer questions, set up customized plans for, depending on what they need.
Yeah.
But yeah, after you were my first coach I ever hired. Maybe I'd had a physical trainer before that. I'm trying to think. But you were my first coach that I hired. And then that's where it really came to be just, yes, it's expensive. But when it comes to my mental health, my physical health, my family, my marriage, my business, what could be more important to spend your money on?
You're here, sister. Yeah.
And it's nauseating sometimes. And let me tell you, I just did a program. It was $12,000. I don't want to say I learned nothing because there's always a lesson.
Sure. Yeah.
Now that made me nauseated and it did not produce the results that I wanted. And it allowed me to then go into another program that was $10,000 where I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this again. But that was the right program.
Got it.
And here's the thing. If I wasn't so almost like, I cannot figure this out with the $12,000 program that didn't work, I was pretty much at rock bottom. And let me tell you, I have proof that I tried to get out of that $10,000 program because I'm like, I just did a $12,000, it didn't work. And they're like, hey, so try the program for a little bit. You don't like it, we'll give you a full refund. I was like, great.
Awesome. Okay.
So I had to show up. I had to do some exercises. And guess what? I was like,
it worked.
This is amazing. I'm not getting a refund. But my point is, I tried to get out of it because I'm like, I'm just over it, right? I'm over it. And I've spent so much money and this is irresponsible. So that's what I mean by you can always learn from it. And maybe that one program that I'll always have access to will come into play
someday,
one day.
Right.
But it didn't work. And therefore I did go into that other program, which really helped me.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah. I don't know. I would love to kind of dissect that a little bit because I know I've had times where I invest in something and it was like so dumb, like to your point, I'm like, what in the actual hell just happened?
Yeah.
And then there are other times where I was a little bit nervous. I was like, what am I doing? It like kicked ass, right? Like it was so amazing and it totally changed things or it changed the trajectory of certain things.
Made you think differently. For me, it's just like a different consciousness thinking for me. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great way to put it. And I think that's what, I think that's what great coaching does, right? I always say great coaching alters human behavior. Like, and you're in a great coaching program when you're watching your own behavior change. That's when you've hit it, right? But I think that we as investors, right? Because obviously I'm a big believer in coaching too. I always have a coach as well, but there's that internal, what the hell am I doing? I think I've learned to figure out just by my own response when it's a fluffy program, when it's something that's going to start to like turn some dials that are going to make some things change. In looking back at that, did you have that inkling at all, just as we're all learning how to invest well in ourselves?
Well, for me, if the person helping, because, a lot of times, unlike my program and your program, which I know we've both been told, you two need to step out, right? If you actually want to scale, it cannot be you.
Yes.
And I'm
Yes.
like, so anyway, like this is,
you're like, that's nice. Never not going to be me, but thank you so much. Yes.
that's good for other people. Just like, and listen, right now, Sarah and I are the people like this is where you get in. But anyway, because I see it happening, and that's what the projects are for. But anyway, so when I feel like I can help these people, I go into my mother mode, I go into my helper mode, and then I'm pissed because I feel I shouldn't speak because my problems are not as bad as their problems, or that's where I go, I made a mistake.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because ultimately you're not working with the people who built it. You're working with their coaches.
Right.
So that's where,
Oh my gosh. I just had a light bulb moment when you said that. I think that's correct. The times that I've really moved myself or had things change dramatically, it's when I had access to the founder of the program.
I think that's the founder of the program.
Yes.
Or definitely access and hearing from the founder and having the founder solve your problems, which by the way, I cannot name one program. Well, right now I'm in a program that does that. But the other part is, or their coaches are so much bigger, better, however you want to describe whatever you're trying to achieve, than you can even imagine yourself being, and so there has to be that respect level of, oh my gosh, to the coaches.
Yes. So the person actually coaching you is further ahead on the path than you are, period. Like that's a necessity. Yeah. You're like, Sarah, they're like barely visible that far ahead. Yeah. No, and I think there is something to that, and actually taking the time to understand, has this person gone through this? Does this person understand? Again, going back to you and your fertility journey, right? I don't mean to keep bringing it back to that, but like, that's the thing, right? That's what's going to consistently set you apart, even as you take on the industry and do other programs. You have to have someone who's walked the path and knows what they're talking about, because then the coaching does have the opportunity to really move you down the path faster, I think.
Yeah. And I think what makes me a little bit different coach than like you per se is, so I always say to people, don't do anything I did on my fertility journey, right? I'm able to understand the mental part of IVF because of my fertility journey, and how you feel when you are not going to have a baby, but that inkling of hope that one day you might is a little bit stronger. And that's what keeps you going. I know what that feels like to know. So I always say, like, don't do what I did. It took me 10 rounds of IVF.
Let's not do that. Yeah.
Let's not do that. But it gave me the credibility. It gave me the compassion. And then it also taught me what helps you get and stay pregnant. I didn't have the right science. My body was in survival mode, and I had zero support guiding me. Not so much a shoulder to cry on, though. We do that. But I have a question. What do I do next? Here's where I'm at. What do I need to know? Constant moving forward with professional help.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, I'm just sitting here going, I can't imagine how many people, I hope, listening, watching, having a cousin, friend, sister-in-law, aunt, whoever, right? Someone they know who's like, I can't get like that feeling, to know there's somebody like you out there who can be like, dude, I got your back. Let's go shoulder to shoulder and make this thing happen. I mean, that is, gosh, and there's so many different things in our lives, right? That we go through. We feel like we're the only one. We feel so alone. We feel so lost. We don't know what to do next. The stakes feel huge. And it's like, who do you go to? And I love what you just said, because I think there's so many humans out there who have had those moments of like, what do I do now? Oh my God. And then they do what you did. They end up turning that into a support system for other people. It's always the best way to go. I mean, I think sometimes, I don't ever want any of us to be given our trials, but I think sometimes we go through things in order to be able to teach from a place of such compassion and love and understanding that it pushes everyone else forward. And it's like, look, if I had to do it so you don't have to, I'm good with that. It's kind of
Yeah.
that feeling, you know?
Yeah. And this is where, in life now, this is weird, but I've had just so many obstacles where I almost look forward to them because I know that means extraordinary obstacles are for an extraordinary life. I demand an extraordinary life in how I feel about myself, my marriage, my kids, my business. Extraordinary. Average is flatline, you're dead. That's what average to me is. You are literally flatlined and dead. Like, kill me. I will not do that. So now I know, because of all the S storm that has come at me so many times, because I'm not a natural, I'm a natural leader, but I'm not a natural, like, hey, this is right industry. Like, it was really hard for me to know I can know more than doctors, some doctors. Like, that was really, I always had that, but they're the doctor. And now I'm like, after 7-8 years, I'm like, please, I know what works. This does not work. So my point is, you have to go into this journey knowing it's not going to be easy. And guess what? These crazy obstacles, these lessons, these people that come into your life and you're like, get away from me. They will ultimately help you restructure your business, your mind, your life for the better. If you know why it's happening, if you do things out of love and goodness and respect for yourself and others, you cannot control others. But when you act like that, and then it's okay, and how am I going to learn from this? I know I'm going to learn from this. I know I'm going to learn, even if it's not obvious immediately, because in the storm, you're like, just make it go away. But ultimately, I'm sure all of us could think about the craziest, saddest, most difficult, devastating times. Wow, I learned a lot.
Yeah.
I don't wish that on my worst enemy.
Yeah.
But now I see what I learned and now what I'm going to do to move forward.
I love that. I had someone on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. She was just this gorgeous woman talking about how she has her husband say something to her every time one of these storms happens. And what he says to her is, imagine when you get to tell this part of the story.
Oh.
And I was like, oh my gosh, it is genius. And I think that's exactly what you're saying as well, is like, listen, this is where the growth happens. If everything's easy all the time, 1, you're bored. 2, I love the flatlining, right? And 3, you're not learning. And I think it's really critical for any of us who are up to having an extraordinary life. You need to be challenged by something, or you need to be creating a challenge, right? Like, I'm going to go learn a new language. I'm going to learn a new thing about my industry. I'm going to learn. I'm going to hire a coach. These challenges that we put in front of ourselves to continue to grow and expand. And then sometimes the universe is nice and just slaps you right upside the head with them instead. That happens too. But Tasha, listen, as we're wrapping up, I would love to know, like, what's next for you? What do you see actually happening as you continue this journey?
Yeah. And this is where, I hope by the end of this year, I don't even know when it will actually come out, but what's next for me is to basically, like I said, change an industry. And because it cannot keep on going on how it is. But the reason why it is because the patient knows so little compared to the doctor. So if I can teach the patient everything they need to know, and I know that sounds impossible, and that's why it's been taking me years to build this. If I can level the playing field of what the patient knows and what the doctor knows and what the embryologists know, and it can't keep moving. It can't be this unsuccessful for that long. National success rates are like 35%. If a doctor is at 50%, they are the rock stars of an industry. Wonderful. And there should be more success. I'm seeing bad fertility treatments. I'm seeing bad protocols, OBGYNs, fertility doctors, too many times. So I'm figuring out a way to teach everybody what I know. And I'm working, because I'm just some chick on the internet, I am working with some of the most brilliant minds in the industry to partner with on this.
I'm so freaking excited. Okay. Well, with that, okay, that just does it, Tasha. You have to come back on and let us know how this happens and when this is ready. Will you promise?
Yeah, just remind me.
Remember, you're like, Sarah,
remember, it's the operations that I'm not good at. You just asked me to be a manager. I'm not a manager.
Like, woman, did you not listen to me? I love it. I love it. Oh, Tasha, this has just been such a joy. if somebody does know a woman or is that woman and they are like, I need me some Tasha in my life, I believe they can set up a call with you. Is that correct?
So yeah, we do. It's typically somebody from my team does discovery calls. So if you know you might be interested in hiring a consultant or just learning more about what we do a discovery call. It might go into more of a deep dive strategy session, but just tashablasi.com/connect. Tasha@tashablasi.com is my email. And I do put my client emails first. But anyway, that's how anybody who is thinking they might need some sort of help, do a discovery call and we got you. We will take it from there. There is no obligation. They are both, one or both of the calls are free. And it's just about us learning about you learning about us, and seeing if this is a great partnership.
Love it. I love it. Oh my gosh. And you guys, we will put that link under this video or in the show notes, depending on how you're enjoying today. And we will also put the link to Tasha's website and all of her social media handles. Tasha, thank you so much for being on the Game On Girlfriend podcast today. This has just been so much fun. And I just wish I could crawl through the interwebs and hug your face.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. I know next time you're in California, we're going to hug. And thank you, Sarah, for what you do, because it is very likely that I would not be here without you, because your one simple idea would have never occurred to me. So I really mean it when I say thank you for creating the life of my dreams.
Oh, thank you, Tasha.
You're amazing.